Alright everybody, this is Scott Carpenter. I'm going to do another typical day here. It's late January 26th. Had an ice storm yesterday. I'm getting ready to hit one of my main trails here in the national park and check a couple trail cameras, change SD cards, and just generally just get out of the house a little bit. It's nice and warm today. It's about 42 degrees. So I'm going to hit the trail and see what we can find. I like coming up here, especially right after a storm, because if I'm going to find footprints, it'll be right now. So many leaves on the ground. The ground's just not very conducive here for footprints. So this is usually, if I'm going to find a footprint, this is usually when I find it. If you have an ice storm and a bad storm, even the big guys will hole up. And then, of course, once everything clears, they'll get out, move around just like everybody else, and that's your best chance of finding a footprint. Right there's the cave entrance, and the sun is in a bad spot. And it's going to be almost, there it is. There's a cave entrance right there. I've got eye shine there before. The cave breaks off to the right in there. Had some trees fall and it makes it hard to see the opening. So, I'm going to do a quickie note here. This is where me and Dave Pilatus were standing when we recorded the Bigfoot. Excuse me. This is where me and David were standing when I recorded the Bigfoot yelling at us. We were standing right here talking, and the big guys were down in here somewhere. The noise came from right down in there. There were two of them yelling at us. Yeah. It's a little point of land in this draw where you have two steep drainages and a point in between. And they were right down in there. We couldn't see them, but boy, they were just right there. That's probably probably 50 yards, maybe 150 feet. That's right. Here's where we were. Give you an idea on that. There's where they were down in there. One of the other things I wanted to point out was when I'm walking a trail like this, I always walk the edge here. Because if I'm a Bigfoot and I'm not wanting to, I'm going to walk this trail, which they don't have to. They can walk the top of that ridge. But lots of times where I find it, my footprints over here on the side. Because if I want to walk this and not leave footprints, this is where I'm going to walk. And so lots of times I will walk this as well. I'll put myself in their shoes and say, alright, where would I walk if I don't want to leave any footprints? And many times I find large depressions in the sides of on the sides of the trail in these leaves. Of course, it's not a definitive, perfect footprint, but when you have a depression that's half an inch in this hard ground and 16 inches long, it's a pretty good idea, something pretty large step there to make it. So it just helps me kind of figure out if they've been traveling this trail and just looking for a sign of their passing. So that's one of the tactics I use, is going up along and actually walking where I think they might walk. Okay, I'm at a split in the trail, and this is where I go up on the mountain. And this is actually the Bigfoot. This is a home area for them. I'm kind of right in the middle of it. But they've got on top of the mountain up here. They live up there, and they come around through here, and they go back through there, head towards a small town about 3 or 4 miles off the park. But I found footprints right here, right over there. I've also found hair samples here. So this is a pretty good spot. It's also a pretty high activity. So I like going up through here. It's also where I have my trail cameras at right now. There are 2 of them. My plot watchers, they're on top of this ridge. They travel this ridge up here and on out. I've got a couple plot watchers watching the trail along the top of the ridge. So I'm going to head up there and switch out the SD cards and see what we got. Okay, another thing I want to point out. This is the location where me and my son had the 2 hoot owls going after it. Probably about 4 o'clock in the afternoon. We had a hoot owl up here, and there's a hoot owl over yonder, and they were going back and forth, and we were looking this way, and I told my son, let's turn around. As soon as we turn around, this one stopped hooting, and as long as we were looking this direction, it wouldn't hoot. As soon as we turned around, looked this way, it started hooting again. So it was kind of a strange deal. I always contend it could have been 2 Bigfoot talking to each other. Alright, I'm at the location of one of my plot watchers, and what I like to do is I like to put my cameras where the game, or in this instance the Bigfoot, has a narrow walking path or a drawdown or a natural funnel. And this is what we have right here. We have the top of a ridge line that parallels the trail down the bottom of the hill, and then heads on up top of the mountain. And this is a nice little open spot, about 30 yards by about 10 yards. So it's very conducive for an ambush spot for a camera, and it's clear enough I can get a photo, and it's also close enough that I can get a decent photo too. So there's no way I'm going to get one of these photos where it's just a little black blob way in the background, because there's the maximum amount away from the camera he can be is about 30-40 feet. Now the camera, and I apologize for the sun, and you might even be able to see it. Oh, that's not good. Well, the camera's right there on the side of that tree. I don't even know if you can see it or not. I've got it fully camouflaged in bark. That's right there. Let's go change out the SD card and the batteries. They're probably dead by now. Push this side here. So usually what I do is I'll put my camera watching behind me as I do all my activity. So I'll set my camera right here, point down that trail that way. So if a big guy sneaks up on me, wants to watch what I'm doing, maybe I get a shot of him. Alright, I have removed the SD card, put new batteries in it, formatted, and she's shooting again. And there she is. She's going after it. So I have to have a photo every 10 seconds down through there. So if the big guy walks down through here, hopefully we'll get us at least one or two. One thing I always do is check the ground. Make sure I didn't leave a battery, drop a glove. it's impossible not to leave any scent or sign, but I basically don't try to linger in here anywhere I have a camera. I go in, I do what I gotta do, and I leave. And I try to come back as little as possible to leave the area as undisturbed as possible. It's not always doable, and probably being watched as we speak, but I do everything possible to, keep that from happening. And I've got some hikers on the trail up here, so I've got to be careful as I work my way back down. But there's the trail. You can kind of see it. Okay. Whew. I just trampled through a bunch of brush. Right down here, I'm on the end of a narrow point. And over there's the horse trail, walking trail. And of course, it goes behind this ridge up here. And then in the draw right there. I've got a long draw here. I've got a long draw there. Of course, I've got this point. And it's been my experience what the Bigfoot do is I have walked up that normal trail. They'll sit on this side, watch the trail. And then as I go around the hill, they'll come around through here and come back around here so they can catch me going this way and watch me. And as I'm doing that, squirrels will start barking at them. Squirrel here, squirrel there, squirrel here, all the way around. So multiple times I've actually captured that on video where the squirrels are barking at something that's coming around this bend as I'm walking on the other side. So, and there's a lot of heavy vegetation here. When the foliage is on, everything in here it goes up at least knee high. But on into this point there's a little dip right here, a little crossing point, and that's where I put one of my second plot watchers in case the Bigfoot is watching or keeping up with people going around. And again, I've made me it's a little ambush spot where if he's coming around up that trail and goes through here in front of me, and I'm around to watch people, see, or if he comes straight up over the hill, because there's another trail down below me. There's my plot watcher right there. And can you see it? I'm having a lot of glare problems today. I'll get back here on the trail so you can see it. But this would be the trail they walked. There's the plot watcher. And you're not going to be able to see it from here, but across the holler, use the East Tennessee slang for you, across that holler is the trail, and it comes up and goes around behind this ridge, and you can see the ground's packed. You've got a nice trail that comes up through here. And that's what I call a high head clearance trail. And I've got some unpublished video of Bigfoot watching me right around the bend here too. And eventually I'll publish one day whenever the DNA results come out. Maybe I'll just get tired of waiting. But so this area is not devoid of activity. In fact, there's quite a bit of activity right in here. This is Scott Carpenter. I wanted to show you a suspicious footprint. I saw it on my way up, but I wanted to wait till I came back. One thing Bigfoot researchers encounter is many times we'll find an isolated footprint and it makes no sense. You'll just find one. And it'll be in a place where you can see it, almost like they left it so someone would know. Usually not a trackway, usually not 4 or 5, but most times just one. And it's usually just odd. And I've got a footprint here that's kind of weird. When a human being leaves a footprint with a boot on, we have a round heel and a round toe and tracks, so it's pretty easy to tell a human boot print. Even if it's left in the mud, it'll be rounded on both ends, like my boot here. But see this footprint right here? Put it over here and shadow it so you can see it. It's hard to see with the sun shining on it. And the interesting thing about this footprint is it's square on the end, rounded the back of the heel, but up here at the front, it's square. If you can see that or not. Now, that's not a normally big, a gigantic footprint, and that could be a boot print. But usually when I see a print that's straight across the front instead of square, instead of round, that usually tells me that I'm dealing with something that was barefooted, because when you're barefooted you got a round heel and your toes are kind of make a straight line at a little bit of an angle. So that's just what I'm thinking right there on this deal. But it's one isolated footprint. It's kind of weird. But that's just kind of the stuff that happens. Some of the weird stuff you find. You have a care in the world.